So are you ready to do a little intaglio printing? I have here a plexiglass plate that I've used a wood burner to etch a print of Phragmites. The first thing that I want to do is clean up the plate from the last print. Because I'm working with ink that's oil-based, it's easily absorbed into the skin. So I'm going to take a little precaution and put on some rubber gloves. Time to put down the ink. I'm going to use a palette knife to spread out the ink, but also the action of the knife heats up the ink just a smidgen so that it will spread onto the plate much easier. We'll take a cardboard slate, fold it in half, and we'll use that to spread the ink onto the plate. We'll apply the ink heavier in areas that have etching, and this will help create a darker effect on the finished print. The next thing I want to do is smear that ink in to make sure that the ink is impressed into every single line and etched mark. And we'll also spread it completely over the plate so that the areas that are even blank will have a bit of tint. Okay, time to wipe it down. The first thing we do is we take a used piece of cheesecloth and we begin to wipe off the excess ink. In the process of wiping off the extra ink, we also make sure that the plate is entirely covered and that all of the plate will have some bit of tint to it when it's printed. The swirling action of the cheesecloth also helps embed the ink into the engraved lines. As needed, I'll take extra cheesecloth and make sure to wipe off as much ink as I can without removing it from the etched lines. Just like Ansel Adams said about photography, you take pictures in the field, but the real magic happens in the lab. It's the same with intaglio printing. You start with an initial plate and you do the initial art, but the finished product will be greatly determined by the amount of ink removed or left on the plate by the artist. This is the point of printmaking that is so important for the artist because it allows us to create the tone and the color that we want within the print itself. After using the cheesecloth and having wiped off the excess ink, the next thing for me to do is to take a soft cotton rag and then refine the process of ink removal. At this point of the print making, you use the soft cotton cloth to wipe down the areas that are blank, creating white space. The last part of the plate preparation is to wipe down the edges and to wipe down the back, so that excess ink is not transferred to the final print, distorting the picture that you desire. Making sure to get a nice clean print. It's an oil-based ink, so it can set for a while. I don't have to worry about it drying out too soon. Oh, time for a little coffee. And now on to the paper. I'm using a mixed media paper. It gives me a finish that I like. The mixed media has a smooth side, and then it has one side that has a bit of tooth. That tooth is excellent for retaining the ink when I run it through the printing process. To prepare the paper for printing, it needs to be damp. So in the bath it goes, making sure to separate any sheets that I've pulled apart in error. But we'll leave it soak in there for a while. We'll flip the sheets over to make sure they get an even coating of water and they have the same dampness throughout the sheet. I don't worry about the perforated edges because when we go to finish the print, we'll use a ruler to tear or decollate the edges. Let's prepare the press. We start with a clean press and we put in a couple of quilts or blankets. These are felt pads that will protect the plate and the paper, but more importantly, it provides enough cushion for the print and the plate to keep from cutting through the paper. We'll do some minor adjustments. We've put the plate a piece of plexiglass in, and that will allow us to check the pressure for the finished plate. Remove the test plate, and we're ready to go. Out comes the paper. We don't want it to be sopping wet, just damp. So the first thing that I'll do to prepare it for the press is to set it on a towel and wipe down both sides of the sheet so that it is now just damp and not soaking. The reason we wet the paper is to make it much more flexible within the printing process. A dry paper will not press into the inked grooves on the plate, as well as a wet or a damp paper. We'll crank out the press. We lift the top blanket. We just kind of hold it to the side and get things ready. We want to put down just a piece of newsprint on the blanket to back the plate. This helps keep the blankets clean and from transferring ink into future prints. Next comes the plate, ink side up. We'll retrieve a piece of damp paper with the tooth side down against the plate. Just to protect the pads, we'll put another safety sheet of newsprint on top. It also adds some extra cushion and will absorb some of the extra water. Ready to roll. Let's crank this baby through. We try to keep an even pressure going through so that the print is even all the way across the picture. If you stop in the middle of the process, you'll actually have lines on your print. Once it's through the press, we'll pull the top blanket back, remove the safety sheet, and now peel off the print. Voila! Not too bad for the first run. Successive inkings and printings will greatly vary the prints. To let it dry, we'll hang it up. And you can see some that we've done here. And each one is different depending upon how much ink has been left on and how much has been rubbed off. It will take several experimental prints to finally figure out the final format that we would like. Once we've figured out that final process, we can begin cranking out extra prints.